Okay, so day 2, well, day 1.5, I have to fly back home this afternoon, so we'll work up to kind of lunch, we'll run up to lunchtime. So today we're going to focus mostly on, or solely on ICD cases, okay? So we'll have a look at a bunch of ICD cases. First of all, I just wanted to share a website for you. That's, I think, really a very, very nice website. I'll just bring it up on my phone. It's the website, and in it you have, it's run by some French physicians from Bordeaux, but they bring cases from other places. That's better. The whole this is better. So yeah, www.cardiocases, and then go to the section that says pacing and defibrillation. And in here, for instance, I can show you if I just scroll to here. You've got all the different companies. Okay, lots of different things. Or maybe we can go to let's go to Boston Scientific, or Biotronic, or Abbott, and I can press. I can go into something to do with sensing on Abbott devices. So if I click on this, it will then take me to a whole bunch of education about Abbott sensitivity and the traces associated with that. Really very, very good.
Are there any explanations?
Yeah, everything. You will be like the best CRM person in Egypt or the world. Okay. You may already be.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
You may already be, but yeah, it's a really. So you can see here lots of really nice education. Lots of the education that they're using is from the companies, but then they put their own traces in here. So I can click on traces associated with this article, and it will take me to for instance some one of the certain things, T-wave oversensing, whatever. Really, but very useful resource that you may want to use. Okay, so cases.com, and then just have a look around. You'll find a whole ton of stuff. It's very useful. Okay. Yeah, ICD cases. Lots of ICD cases, and then when we're going through the cases, we'll try. Here is the sensitivity value declining. Okay, so this is the sensitivity line declining. So it's coming down from a number. It's in the past there. Okay, we'll see how it gets that number. When it detects an R wave, it initially starts a refractory period. The refractory period is normally 125 milliseconds. I'll show you where you can find that in the program. Very occasionally you might need to change it. During this refractory period, so this is the ventricular sense refractory period, the device measures the amplitude of the R wave, and then it sets itself to a percentage of this R wave. Nominally today it's 50% of the R wave. So it'll run 50% of this here, and then it will then it can hold that value, that 50% value. This is called the threshold start value, so the start of the threshold. There's 50% of this R wave. It will then hold that for a period of time. This is called a decay delay, and this is a programmable number as well. And then at the end of that number, so this may be 60 milliseconds. So here we've got a 50% and a decay delay of 60 milliseconds. At the end of that then it starts to get more sensitive. And as you can probably see, the goal of this decay delay is to, if there is a T-wave, that it kind of hops over the top of it. Okay? So if you get T-wave oversensing with an Abbott device, typically you're changing one of these values. Okay? Which value you change is totally dependent on the morphology of the R wave and morphology of the T wave. So what we recommend that you do is that you send the technical guys the electrogram and the device settings, and then we can get back to you and tell you how to program the T wave. Okay? So because we can put it into a machine and it can measure put it into a computer and we can measure the ratio of the R wave to T wave, and then the least changes possible to get over the T wave. Because if you change these too much, this is you can cause undersensing of VF. Okay, imagine you put this number here to 220. Okay, and you could put this to 100%. So you could go all the way up here and hold it for 220 milliseconds, and then it will decline down. It's really insensitive. Okay, So we wouldn't advise that. So you want to make minimum changes to this to get around T-wave oversensing. Saying that, it is really rare for an Abbott device today to have T-wave oversensing. Okay, with our current technology, it's extraordinarily rare to see T-wave oversensing when you're sensing. Okay.
There's one specific case I saw that the T-wave was actually of a higher voltage than the alpha.
Yeah,
What?
that can happen. Was that with an Abbott device?
I don't remember the
Can't
case.
remember. Yes, and sometimes that can happen, and that's pretty unusual. I've got some cases, and you'll see what happens. So, but I would suspect that was with an older device. Probably was it some time ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an older device. So we've made lots of alterations in devices filter signals, and we're much better now at making T-waves disappear. We can nearly make them disappear. Nearly.
We don't want them to disappear.
T-waves? Oh, I want T-waves. I don't want to see a T-wave.
Other things will disappear as well.
Correct, exactly. If you make it totally disappear, VF disappears. So that's bad, right? So you're absolutely right. So we make the T-wave disappear, but we don't compromise VF sensing. And I'll show you some nice cases where the balance between making a T-wave disappear but seeing VF gets a little bit interesting. And we'll see how that presents. So we have all these numbers here. We don't need to worry too much about these numbers here. Here we've got no T-wave oversensing. Clearly, we've walked already through this here, the central factor period, so and so. In this scenario here, we've got relatively large T-waves, but also almost always when you get T-wave oversensing, when you had it in the past or with an older device, it's almost always associated with a small R wave. Mm-hmm. Almost always, because if you think about it. If this is the signal and it's going to 50% of this signal and this is a small signal, now it's really sensitive and it gets more and more sensitive, okay? So it's almost always small R waves, almost always, in the past, okay? So that's one reason why you need to have a good R wave for an implant, okay? Why you want more than 6-7 millivolts. If it's down at like 3, you've got problems. You've got problems not just with undersensing of arrhythmias, but also potentially T-wave oversensitive. So in this scenario here, we measure the signal, holds up for 60 milliseconds, declines down, picks up the T-wave, and then it measures the T-wave. Because it doesn't know what it is, so this is an R wave. It measures the T-wave, and look, it's getting more sensitive. So it's got more sensitive, resets the sensitivity on here, it's skipped over the top, okay? So you can see the small R wave caused the T-wave, okay? Not per se the size of the T-wave, okay? So how might you change this? So you might change this by, possibly you could extend the decay delay a little bit, or you could even increase the threshold start.
What's better?
It depends on the ratio of this to this. So that's why we ask you, if you send us the electrograms, the device settings, we can run it through a computer, and then we can work out which is better, basically, which is the least alteration from baseline. Because if you imagine, if you had a very peaky T-wave here, if it was very, very big, increasing the threshold start won't help. Increasing the decay delay won't help. You may need to push the threshold start. So it depends. It just depends on the relative morphology.
If I had to change one value in the beginning, which would be safer? Delaying the decay delay?
Again,
Have to send it.
yeah, we really want to see it. I wouldn't make a guess on it.
You redo the VFC test with the induction after changing such parameters?
That is a consideration, but and that we leave that to physician decision. So we say you have changed the sensitivity of the device. You have made it, and so if you make these numbers bigger, you make the device less sensitive. So we would then say you should consider doing a defibrillation threshold, and then you make a call, right? Like you do with important decisions every day of your life, right? Every minute in your job, right? So you have to, we can't make that call. We just say programming options that you may have here. So a little bit of a quick review. We've got all these things here are programmable. The maximum sensitivity we can program, we can make that higher. The sense refractory period we can extend, so we can push that out if we want to. The decay delay, remember it's seeing the R wave, holding it for a period of time at a set sensitivity. We can extend that out as well, and then we can change the threshold start so we can push that up higher as well. Okay, so this is the sensitivity that it starts at dependent upon the measured R wave. So there's all this technology, all this stuff, and it's kind of like, well, what one do I use for which situation, right? So if we'll walk through them, right? So this one here, the only time you want to extend the ventricular refractory period is if you are having, if you're double sensing the R wave. So if you sense the R wave twice, sense the R wave twice. If it's an implant, you're sensing the R wave twice, you should probably move the lead. Yeah. So you never make these changes at implant. We said, doctor, please, doctor, move the lead, get a better signal. Because if it's very wide, it's probably not a great signal, right? So we want a sharper signal. So this here, you might change this here. Max sensitivity, you may change that if you've got some. You sometimes might use that if you've got T-wave oversensing, but in our device, not normally. This we would normally change if you're sensing sensing diaphragm. So you can sense diaphragmatic signals with ICDs. Okay. Anyone seen it?
No.
Okay. So I'll show you. You've seen it. Okay. I'll show you it later as well. We've got a couple of nice cases. And then decay delay and threshold start are typically used if you get a patient who has T-wave oversensing. Sorry, max sensitivity as well. You may use if you P-wave oversense. Okay. So if the ventricular lead is seeing the atrial signals, you may want to extend this up this here. So different settings for different clinical scenarios. Okay, but a lot of functionality on these on the sensing of this device. I'll just quickly show you where it is by running through the program. Because I kind of want to make this as practical and real as I can. Okay, so we've got the programmer. So to get to the sensitivity, if I tell you, you will never remember, right? So you have to kind of be able to find it yourself, right? You know, if I told you to get to, I don't know, some place out there and I told you the directions, you won't remember. But if you understand, then it's easier, right? You remember, right? So it's part of the parameters, right? It's part of the device parameters. So let's go to parameters. Number one. What do you think? It's part of sensing, right? So there's something that says capture and sense. So it would make sense to go in there, right? Sorry, that was not meant to be a gag. It would make sense to go in there. And then down the bottom here we have sensibility. So the marketing name for it is sensibility. We can click onto that there, and then we have all the programmability options here. So you can see you've got on this screen here. Here's the defibrillator sensitivity. So the decay delay is 60 milliseconds, the threshold start is 50. This is the nominal settings on the device. When the device paces, because you can't see, you're not getting an R wave, so when it paces, it goes to 0 millisecond decay delay and 1 millivolt sensitivity. So if by V pacing, this is the start of the threshold, okay? What we do sometimes see, I did say earlier, there is no T-wave sensor on Abbott devices when it's sensing. Virtually none, okay, with new devices. Like, I haven't seen it. You will see it when you pace occasionally, okay? So you will see T-wave occasionally when you are ventricularly pacing, okay? Never results in inappropriate shock. We'll see why in a minute, okay? So if you get some T-wave oversensing post-pace, you want to be changing these settings here, not these, okay? So you might make a slight, we may ask you to move this up a little bit to 1.2 or something like this, okay? So it just depends on the situation. The max sensitivity here is 0.5. But you can imagine if you did this here. If I did this, 220 decay delay, and then 100% threshold start. That's really insensitive. Yeah, that's going to the size of the R wave, right? Up to 6, only treats the 6, and then holding it for 220 milliseconds, right? If you put somebody into VF with those settings there, the device will probably struggle to sense, okay? You may have a delay in sensing, so I'll hit restore to nominals because it makes me feel uncomfortable, okay? All right, max sensitivity here. The last thing is just going back, the refractory period. So the refractory period, ventricular refractory period, ventricular central refractory period is under refractories and blanking. We can go in here, and then here is the sense refractory, okay? They're much shorter than in the pacemaker, right? In a pacemaker, your sense refractory period is normally 250. In an ICD, it's really short because if you have a sense refractory of 250 and in VF, every signal hides the ventricular channel for 250 milliseconds. we wouldn't be able to detect VF. Okay, so 125 is nominal. We can change that. You only have one other option, and it's 157, and it brings in some. When it goes yellow, it means there's some kind of conflicts, and you've got to reprogram the device a little bit more. Okay, so add implant. If you've got a wide signal and it's double sensing, move the lead, please. Get a sharper signal. Okay. The paced refractory, when it paces, it's refractory of 250 milliseconds, and that makes sense, right? Because if you're pacing at a wider QRSs, but as soon as it starts to sense, very short 125. Okay. Those are our kind of default out-of-the-box settings, which actually work. You do. If you see T-Wave post-sense, you send it to the guys. They can send it to me, and then we'll I don't know. Send you a prize for picking up the first T-Wave. I don't know, maybe a cardiology book.
You'll send the patient.
Yeah. Okay, so we did this. We'll walk through all this. Okay, so maybe I think I've got a couple of cases coming up. Okay, so I'll talk through it where it was. We've already seen this. We've already seen all this in the program. Okay, so some troubleshooting of sensing, right? This is what we all love, isn't it? This is what doctors love. This. Give them some trouble, get them to fix it, right? Okay. So here we have this is a ventricular. This is a defibrillator lead sensing. So this is
Double R-wave sensing.
double R-wave sensing. Yeah. So we've got a marker here, and the signal is seeing it twice. Okay. If this is an implant, we want you to move the lead. This is not an implant.
And how much is the R-wave here measurement?
The R-wave here was big actually. It's a big R-wave. It was like a 12 millivolt R-wave.
Because usually when you have a problem with sensitivity, it's usually
Small.
a smaller wave,
Absolutely.
especially T-wave oversensing.
Yes. Yeah. T-wave oversensing pretty much is always
Yeah.
tiny little R-waves. Okay.
You have to move your lead somewhere.
Yeah. So that implant, that's why we're asking for signals greater than kind of 5, 6 ish. Okay.
Double X and a double zero means
Double X. This is our SVT discriminator called morphology discrimination.
Exactly.
So it looks so it's saying this is a non-match, process non-match, and 0 is how
0%.
much of a non-match it is.
even the first R-wave.
Yeah, even the first R wave on this one here. Yeah, because the lead. I mean, this is just a poor template that's been stored, and the device. Our old morphology was okay, but it's stored on one complex, so it updated on one complex, which meant that it could update on PVCs, which could be a problem, right? New morphology, none of that anymore. It does it over 8 beats. It does it over a wider range. It's a much more average signal, and it's a wider signal as well. So old morphology was tip and ring. The new morphology is coil to can.
We always had the notion that when it came to discrimination,
Yep.
whatever discriminated, the device always used the bipolar signal from the tip
Yep.
and ring.
Mm-hmm.
The wide range unipolar signal
Yeah.
from the tip to the calf.
Yep.
Can it be used for any morphology discriminator?
Yes. We use coil to can as our morphology discriminator.
Coil to calf.
Coil to can, RV coil to can. That is our you can change it, but that is our default because we want to see a more global ECG, right?
That's the far field.
This is far field, yeah. We want to see that, so we use that as our morphology on our contemporary devices.
The new device.
New devices, yeah.
The older device uses the near field morphology.
Yeah, because if you've got a near field, right, it's a very small. It's kind of like if you put blinkers on a horse. You only see a bit, right?
Yeah.
So the horse can only see, I don't know, a little bit of the car, right?
Exactly.
Or whatever it's looking at. You do that, you can see the whole of the car, right?
Exactly.
So, it just sees that if you do that and if you're looking at a bus, you might say, well, I don't know if it's a bus or a coach or a lorry or anything, right? But then you go, I don't know what it is now, it's an aeroplane. So wider scale view, yeah. Okay, so we're going to change on this one here, what are you going to change? What are you going to fix it? Well, you're going to move the lead, right, if it's that implant. But if this is chronic, and this has just happened, you're going to push out the central refractory period, right? Yeah? Okay, extend center, always double R wave, refractory period goes long. Okay, we need to push that out long out to 157. It will compromise things a little bit, as we saw with the locks, but yeah, that would be our standard approach, okay, for that. Okay, we've already done that. Okay, what about this one here? Let's zoom in. So here is, ignore the kind of question, we'll just look at the electrogram. Ventricular electrogram, atrial electrogram. What is your issue?
He's sensing the P waves. Sorry. No.
Walk through it. So P wave, R wave, far field R wave, that's not being sensed,
Yes.
but it's there. So we've got, so if you look at the atrial channel, I can tell exactly what rhythm this patient's in, right? I'll go P wave, R wave, P wave, R wave, P, R, P, R, P, R, right, it's in sinus rhythm. Yeah? The guy's in sinus rhythm, okay, but the device is saying it's VF. Well, that's nonsense, right? Because I've just seen that he's in sinus rhythm from his atrial channel, okay?
He's sensing the P waves.
He's sensing that, well, let's have a look. So P wave, R wave, P, here, what is this?
That's the normal P wave.
This one here, the little marker before, the A sense, can you see that?
Yes.
There's a little tiny
That's
marker.
a T wave.
That is a,
That's a T wave, most
it's a
probably.
T wave, okay?
Yes. Yes.
T wave over sensing,
Oh.
R wave, T wave, R wave, T wave, R wave,
That's
T
classic T
wave,
wave.
R wave, okay? So we got some T wave over sensing.
And what's
And-
the R wave here? The measurement of the R wave.
3.
Yeah.
So R wave is 3. So the device is going at 50% 3, it's 1.5, and then declining down, okay? And this is almost always what you see. Almost always, if you get T wave over sensing, it's this, okay? Remember, contemporary devices, you are not going to see this with our new devices. We can make this disappear, okay? We don't want to see this
Change
to
the
you.
filters.
With our filters, yeah.
Yes.
Our filters have made this
Because a
disappear.
few years ago, the problem of T-wave oversensing when you have a very small
Yeah.
R wave is a very big
Huge.
problem, huge
Huge.
problem. And even when you increase the decay delay, or
Still.
still there.
So I mean, how do you fix this, right? How would you fix this here with this patient?
Definitely decay.
You can, so here's your choices. You can reposition your RV lead, change threshold start, change decay delay, change the maximum sensitivity.
You can change the threshold start.
Yeah, you could change the threshold start, but some of these signals are very similar in size to the R wave, right?
Yes.
So if you make it not sense this, you might have a little bit of a problem when you get VF, okay?
The maximum
It
sensitivity.
cannot be solved by decay delay. You have to reposition the R wave.
You probably have to reposition. You need to consider repositioning the RV lead, okay? And interestingly, if you this patient is a bit tachy, right? He's tachycardic, right?
Yeah.
It's not that tachycardic, but he's a bit tachycardic, right? And one of the things we would see in the past is that R waves go down on tachycardia, right? And you remember yesterday that differential sensing? I think it's just leads moving around a lot, and then kind of. So here's this is what happened to this patient. R wave was sort of normal at the beginning, wasn't great. Looked like it moved almost a meter, and then it dropped down. It was around about 4. Okay, this is where we start seeing the T wave over sensing. Okay, so. Here's the next patient. This patient has got, he's 18-year-old, he lives in Dublin, nice little Irish fella. He's got long QT syndrome, and he had long QT, he was picked up on screening, so a family member was found to have long QT, arrested, they put a device in, we put a device in. So he presented to clinic with shocks while he was in a nightclub in Dublin. So he's out late Saturday night, in the club, enjoying himself, and then his device started shocking him, okay? His R wave is 4. Threshold is normal. What do you think this is going to be?
T-wave over.
T wave over sensing, right? Because he's got a small R wave and he's got long QT.
Yeah.
So the R wave is out here, right? So he's got more time to get sensitive. So if you're putting a device into someone with long QT syndrome, you need to be especially kind of on the, concerned about the R wave, okay? So let's have a look at his let's have a look at his episode. So it's just like loads of markers, right? It's like it's too much, right? But work through it, it's okay, right? Atrial channel, ventricular channel, yeah. And then these are the markers, these things here. So this is the A marker on this device, V marker, A, V, A, V, A, V, A, V, A, V. Early A. Bit of delayed AV nodal conduction, interesting, but it's very early A, right? AV, A, bit of Oh, there
Sorry,
you
so
go.
the numbers are the AA interval and the VV interval.
Yeah,
Your early A was 273.
yeah.
The number precedes or is it after the mark?
It's this. So this number
It's 273.
is this. Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
that's an early A.
Yeah, so that's an early A, it's just an atopic with a bit of wink backing. More.
Okay.
A through the V. A.
They didn't see the V.
It didn't see the V. There's no V sense, right? There is a V. There it is. But it doesn't see it. The device doesn't see it. So actually, actually paste. Sorry, it didn't actually paste it. It's new. Okay. So we've got some undersensing, small R waves, and then what happens here? So P wave, R wave, R wave. It's a T wave, yeah. R wave, T wave, R wave, T wave, R wave. Not sensed, R wave, and it's been in as a fib here, right? Charging, 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 charging. About a second later, it shocked him. Okay. So his R wave in this episode here was about 2. So I showed his R wave was 4. When he was doing this, it was 2. So we measured this signal here, and it was 2 millivolts. So we'll
elaborate just on the markers, the ones with the S and 97.
the ones with the S. So this is the classification. Yeah. So this is saying that this RR interval is in the sinus zone, which is just any zone lower than the VT zone, right, or the VF zone. Fib is in the fibrillation zone, and then blank means that there's a mismatch between the actual interval and the average interval. It's one of the binning rules on an Abbott device. When if you go into the cardio cases, it'll really explain that algorithm in detail. But it is sensing in here. It's just not classified that RR interval. Okay, there's a mismatch between the average and the actual kind of thing.
The right and the wrong, that's the subject. Either
X is a non-match, 0 is the score. Yeah.
0, 0 is the score.
0 is the score. Yeah, so we were kind of like worried about this guy. We thought, what should we do? So he was in clinic, not T-wave oversensing. So he's at 4, T-waves are fine.
You
So-
only exercise with the...
Exactly. Put him on a treadmill. Got him on a treadmill. Got him to walk on a treadmill. So he's walking on a treadmill, and then we started speeding it up, and we turned his device off. So he's on a treadmill. He's walking. We get him running. We get his heart rate going up, and when he hit about sort of 160, which is around about here. And all the time I would measure the R wave, measure R wave, measure R wave. The R wave was doing this. As his heart rate came up, his R wave was doing this. At about 160, it hit the point at which it started to pick up his T waves. So, what do? I mean, you could go in and reposition that lead.
No.
No, exactly. This is an 18-year-old, you know. So we decided in this patient here
You
to,
just go up with the
We-
VT deduction.
yeah. Well, if you look at that RR interval there is about 200 milliseconds.
Yeah, he's young.
So we can't go so. So
But
we.
this 359 milliseconds.
Yeah, but this is
See,
this here to here.
From the R wave.
R wave to the T wave
T-wave.
is about 200, 220 milliseconds.
He has a long picture.
you have to
This here.
use the T-wave
Yeah. Yeah.
programming like...
Yeah. So we considered that, but look at these T waves are nearly the same size as this R wave.
Yeah.
So if we hide the T wave, we will probably hide an R wave. And we already see, we're already not sensing some R waves, okay? This is an R wave that's not being sent, really because of this signal here. Yeah, this signal made this not be sensed, okay? It's normal. We can see this sometimes, okay? So in this patient here, with the physician, we elected to dampen his heart rate a bit, okay?
Beta blocker.
Yeah, beta blocked him a little bit, just to try and keep his heart rate down, and said, look, just maybe don't go so crazy in the nightclubs.
The Saturday night.
Yeah, just the same. I know. This is a little Irish fella, right? He was very
So name the
so.
band.
Yeah. So anyway, so we dampened his heart rate a little bit, just a little bit, and we haven't seen any problems since. Okay. He didn't like the inappropriate shocks, so he's quite good with taking his meds.
But that's not with the new device.
This is not with a new device. This is with an old device. You will not see this on a new device. You'll see later on. Okay. Promise you won't. As close as I can promise, 100%. Pretty close to 100%. Okay. Here's another case study. So this is going to be to do with sensing as well. So primary prevention ICD, so by the ICD, doesn't matter, it's an ICD, attends clinical schedule follow-up, and we're going to have a look and see what needs altering. So what about this device setting here? So it's 176 VT and VF zone at 200. For primary prevention? Reasonable? It's reasonable, right? You might want to push this VF zone a little bit, but this is a reasonable kind of settings. Have a look at his device measurements. R wave, P waves, all the impedances are all okay, right? Everything looks reasonable. It's got lots of mode switches though. 7,000 mode switches, 9% mode switch. Hello. Has he got loads of AF? Maybe. Maybe not. Okay? So, here is this by the ICD patients, right? Remember, this is a CRT-D heart rate histograms. So, here's his event histogram. So, he's pacing 96% of the time. Is okay, that's not enough. It has to be 99 or 100, right? Preferably 100, right, with biventricular pacing. Yeah? He's only 96. We should make that better, right? So we need to work out why he's doing that. He's a little bit of A pacing, well, that's okay. Here are his, well, here's his ventricular heart rate histogram, which equals his atrial heart rate histogram. Any comments about his histogram? Sorry. So any comments on that, on this? It says ventricular, it's atrial.
There is no column with the average heart rate in like between 70 and 80,
Yeah.
but all are going the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy doesn't have any high heart rate. Why is he going to
No, he
move
has
so-
high
He
heart
has.
rate. He goes
So
up
this is
to
a-
130.
Remember, this is
I
a
think he has
heart
more
failure
than
patient.
50.
This is a heart failure patient, right?
Yeah.
This is an awful heart rate histogram for a heart failure patient, right? This is like one of the worst heart rate histograms I've seen, right? Or I had seen at this point in time. Really wide spread of heart rates, okay? This guy is sympathetically nervously stimulated the whole time, okay? He's not taking his beta blockers. He might be decompensating, right?
Yeah.
This is a really awful heart rate histogram. For CRT patients, and some of you guys are managing heart failure patients, or you all are, you should see when you put a CRT in that almost all of the activity happens here. Yeah, between 60 70, right? The shift trial showed us that kind of stuff. So here, and then a little bit here, and maybe a little bit out here, and their average heart rate should be maybe 65. Yeah, in and around that 60, 65 beats per minute with the up-titrated beta blockers. Okay. So this is a really bad sign. His mortality and morbidity is not good. Okay, this needs acting on pretty quickly. Okay, so let's then look at his AF episodes. So here's his AF histogram, or his diagnostics. Any thoughts about this? Can you summarise this? So he's got 5,000 episodes that last less than 1 minute.
I think this is fake.
This looks fake.
Ah.
That looks fake, and some of these look fake. These are a bit short, right? These are a bit short.
So it is double
That-
counting like Farfield, are we?
Probably double counting Farfield hours. We need to check for that, right? So this probably is real. These are real.
Yeah.
These are probably real, and this is probably real. But this would maybe be fake. We don't know yet because you can get short AF, right? Another thing just to note up here, we picked it up yesterday. This patient has 8,000 VS to AS intervals less than 80 milliseconds. So from the ventricular event to the atrial event, it's less than 80 milliseconds. He's got quite a lot of those. And it gives you a little asterisk, and somewhere it tells you what the asterisk means. The asterisk means, it has a little bit of text at the bottom. It says, this may indicate far-field R waves. Alright? I think it probably does. Yeah. We'll see. Okay? So happy with that there.
Yeah.
So we can get these golden, these yellow
Sensor.
balls. This is the sensor. What the sensor thinks the patient should be going at. So the sensor thinks the patient, so whatever this is, about 80% of the time, 70% of the time, it thinks this patient should be going between 55 and 65 beats per minute. But he isn't. He's hardly ever at that rate. Okay? He is not a well drugged CRT patient, heart failure patient. He's a badly drugged patient, okay? He didn't like his beta blockers, so he didn't take them. What drug do you use? Ivabradine? Do you have access to Ivabradine?
Yes.
Ivabradine, yeah. So maybe we might want to move this guy across to Ivabradine if he's intolerant of his beta blockers, possibly.
The problem here was actually artery oversensing, or was it?
Well, we'll see.
Show us the.
Show me the electrogram.
That's how artery down.
Yes.
AV.
Do you think the position of the lead, the place?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the position of the lead is poor.
Should we check for this while we implant?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Really?
100%.
I never did.
I would always.
30 years of experience, never did.
Yeah. So if you're
Checking for the far field pacing ventricle
Definitely.
in the atrial chamber when you are implanting.
Yeah.
Checking for this.
So I would always be, if I was working the PSA, the physician puts the atrial lead in. I'm not just looking at the size of the P wave. I'm looking at its morphological characteristics, and also if there's an R wave coming through, a big R wave.
But when you test during implantation, you test for sense R wave.
Yeah.
Now you are testing. Sometimes you test for paced R wave.
Yeah,
In the configuration of IV.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
The
true.
spike and
Yeah.
so also the pacing.
Yeah, so I would definitely be looking at obviously the P wave amplitude at implant, but if there is a far field, and you want to look at that in two, you want to look at that in sensed, so A sense, V sense, and A sense, V pace, because it can change, okay? And if you see a large far field R
This is
wave,
why we have the cable with the 4 pins, 2
Yeah.
for the atrial, 2 for the ventricle,
True.
so that we can pace
Yeah.
and see the atrial.
absolutely, yeah. So it's useful to be able
سمع يا
to,
مؤمن
yeah.
سمع يا مؤمن
كله قابل مرتين.
والله
So it's because look what this far field R wave did, right? So here we've got far field R wave sense, and here, and here.
It should
Stop this by pacing.
Doesn't say AB, A blanking.
No, it doesn't. No, our device
Why?
doesn't do that.
Why?
On this channel, because it's in PVARP. This is in PVARP, not PVAB. It's outside PVAB. If it's in PVAB on an Abbott device, it doesn't say anything. We don't give you any marker.
Doesn't see.
It doesn't see. Yes, other devices they give you a blank AB.
AB, yeah.
So they'll tell you that it's in the blanking period. We'd say if it's in blanking, it's fine.
Yesterday we saw similar case with this maker, I think.
Yeah.
And it said AR.
AR, yeah, that's A in the ventricular refractory period, yeah. But this is
They're very close to the pacing. So how come it is not in the blanking?
It's just outside blanking. Blanking on this device, I think, is 80 milliseconds. It's really short.
It is outside blanking.
In PVAR.
But it is in the PVAR. So how come it says isn't still?
Not AR.
Not AR.
It
Because these are the we call these the tachy markers. These are the markers for the ICD side of the device, not pacer side of the device. Yeah.
He has to count them.
Yeah. These are we have different markers for Brady and tachy on our ICD platform.
They're not just feeding the AMS counter, they're feeding other counters.
They are feeding the AMS counter, and the discriminator counter.
Yes.
So in the pacemaker it is AR.
Yeah.
And in the ICDs it is essence.
Yeah. And if it's in blanking, it's 0. And it is not there.
So in the pacemakers, they're only feeding one counter, that's the AMS counter. Here they're feeding both counters.
Correct, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So, and this is the problem, right? You lose by V pacing. The device goes to a non-tracking mode, the patient's in sinus rhythm, though he conducts through his AV node.
Yes.
Doesn't track, right? So now we lose by V pacing. So now we've lost by V pacing, and then the baroreceptors maybe are detecting a drop in pressure, so they start to go, okay, drop in pressure, trigger the whole system, trigger things off again, right? So this patient might have started decompensating as a result of just a far field R wave, which is insignificant, or we think it's insignificant, right? They are really, we don't pay enough attention to these signals.
Especially like Dr. Murdoch said, when you pace them.
Yeah, and then the other thing that can happen if you have far field R wave, so you can lose CRT, and you can potentially get an inappropriate shock, just from oversensing on the atrial lead. Whoa. Because you'll see later on, because it feeds wrong information into the SVT discrimination algorithm. Okay, so if you're giving incorrect information about the atrial rate into that algorithm, there is a potential, not on the way we program today, but on older devices, there was a potential, there still is, depends on your program, a potential for wrong information, so it goes down wrong channels in SVT discrimination. So a far-field R wave can cause loss of CRT, decompensation potentially, and inappropriate shocks. Just this little thing here. So we should pay attention to them. So what are we going to change? Sorry,
Atrial sensitivity. Don't you?
Atrial sensitivity? We could, but if we make this, here's a far field here, look at the size of these far fields.
Nearly the same size.
They're nearly the same size. Well, I would be wanting to know where this atrial lead is. Has it gone really low? Right? But the threshold's fine, so it probably hasn't moved. But I would be wanting to, so the only function you can change here is the postventricular atrial blanking. Yeah? PVAB.
The VPAP.
The PVAB, so we from the R wave to here, we extend that out a little bit, okay?
We dream of something like a decay delay later on the P wave.
There is a decay delay and threshold start on the P wave, but if you consider it, right, so if we wanted to undersense this, right, this signal here, if we wanted to undersense this, we would have to be changing the decay delay threshold start on this.
Yes.
That's a long way away. Yeah, that's like 200 milliseconds away. So you'd have to be really insensitive on your atrial channel, and then if you went into real AF, with all the change of cycles, you'd miss loads, and you probably wouldn't mode switch. So really rare. I've only got one time. There's only one time, and it happened 6 weeks ago, where I've had to change the decay delay threshold start on an atrial lead, and it was for far field P wave oversensing. So so the atrial lead sensed the right atrial signal, and then it sensed the left atrial signal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite cool. So yeah.
Common?
First of all, no, it's very
I haven't seen
uncommon.
it
No, I saw it 6 weeks ago. Initially, I thought it was a far-field R wave when I first looked. Oh, just a far-field R wave, just a far-field R wave. But it was happening well before the R wave. Okay, so it was happening. It would have been happening if you were it was happening kind of here. And then when I went to a non-tracking mode, so I took the V away, it went A, and then the V was here. So it was just P wave, double P wave sensing. So in that scenario, we did some.
Yes,
threshold
I have
starters.
a patient one, but she has not received the pacemaker. But her right is left atrium from the EP study.
Yeah.
We were far away that the P wave is vivid.
Yeah.
And this is
Very
the
long.
atrium, the right atrium, this is the left atrium, and there is a big
Yeah.
distance, timing wise.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you see them out at like 140,
But this
150.
is congenital heart.
Yeah. And they're important, right? So we talked about QuickOp yesterday, and what it does, it tries to measure the duration of the P wave. If you put a pacemaker into her and you went with nominal pacemaker settings, AV delay settings, you would chop off her atrial drive, her atrial kick, right? Essentially. But I've seen that. I've seen
Is there
deep.
enough time for both atrial contraction.
Yeah, so I've seen that with dual chamber pacemakers, and it was a lady with long-standing hypertension. So she had a stiff ventricle, so her ventricular filling, the suck
Depended
from
on
her
the
was
atrial
so really dependent on atrial kick, right?
Yeah.
And she had a broad P wave, but we didn't. I wasn't at the implant. I got involved in some follow-up, but she came in, she put a pacemaker in for AV block, and she decompensated really quickly. So she came back 2 months after her dual chamber pacemaker, and she was in heart failure. She had preserved ejection fraction, like systolic function. So she was admitted to the ward. We were all having a look at her. They were trying to work out what was going on. Give her a load of offloaded her, all kind of stuff, and they were kind of, what could this be? And then we noticed that her P wave was really long. We were like, okay. So we were pacing her ventricle well before her atrium depolarized. So we just give her no cardiac output. So we extended her AV delays to allow the left atrium to squeeze, and things resolved very quickly.
I think that on transmitral Doppler
Yeah, you could do
could
that.
have been everything.
We could have done that. Yeah, we could have done that. We just looked at her P wave though. I said she's got wide P wave. Electrically, it's fine. We didn't get the voodoo out. Do you do echo?
Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll skip past these. Right. Where are we? Okay, another case study. So this is from these are all ICDs, right? It's an ICD case study though.
Oh, it's not good.
So, hello.
It's very low.
R wave is low, and it's decreasing a little bit. Thresholds are normal. Impedances are all normal. Nice high LV impedance. This is good.
Yes.
Keep the longevity of the device up. But just one thing here, just go across here. We're pacing on the LV lead from D1.
Distal 1.
Distal 1.
Two.
And then the return pathway is M2. I never talk about the return pathway. I just say D1. I'm pacing at D1 because that's where you capture